Hello everyone and welcome to my thoughts on the upcoming Wild Hoard patch. I'm glad I waited for this vid because the patch notes were just updated maybe an hour before I started this recording. First up, I want to state that despite this being the first patch of the year and being quite significant, this is not Season 7 of Paladins. That will be starting in the 7.2 update in February. Little confusing, but that means you have a little while longer to grind out your ranked games if you so wish. Let's start this review with the return of the Trials of the Realm. After a year-long break, the Trials are back with some tweaks. Now, instead of requiring Trials tickets to unlock a challenge hub, you have a majority of the challenges unlocked at once. There are 9 total hubs, 8 challenge hubs, and 1 completionist hub, which is unlocked by completing all prior trials. The completionist hub will provide additional rewards based on your percentage of normal trials completed. I love the Trials of the Realm. It was a great incentive to grind out Paladins for some cool loot. It also served as a way to continue receiving goodies if you opted to not buy the Battle Pass. I'm quite pleased they decided to remove the ticket system. While I understand the original goal was to have players checking in every week for new challenges, I believe that having everything available at once allows players to go at their own pace throughout the whole patch. It should also be noted that the challenges themselves have been made more general, meaning that challenges such as get 5 headshots in a row with Octavia will be replaced with get 300k healing. I do prefer the more general challenges, but I will admit, I'll miss seeing everybody playing a specific champion to complete a specific challenge. Overall, I think Trials coming back is a great move. I do have to state that at least on the PTS, it seems that the act of completing a quest still lags out your game for a split second. So expect a lot of stuttering matches at the start of this update. Going off of the Trials, we have a revamp to the Event Pass. Going forward, the pass will now have 36 levels, up from 24. The XP needed to progress through the pass is seeing a slight revert to the Battle Pass era, with starting levels requiring less XP than later ones. Lastly, instead of getting a set skin every few levels, you will now receive an event chest. These chests contain the 2 skins and 2 recolors the pass would normally have. Essentially, now your skin drop is RNG based instead of being predetermined. This revamp to the pass is overall another improvement in my eyes. The current event pass at 24 levels is not rewarding at all, mainly due to how long it takes to gain a level. You can grind out hours of Paladins only to get 1 level in the pass. The revert to the XP amounts required for level ups should alleviate this, at least in early levels. As for the change to skin distribution, I'm neutral about it. Typically if I buy a pass, I will complete it, so there's no change to my skins gained. But I can see the random drops being frustrating for those who want a specific skin, but also don't have the time to invest in a battle pass. Moving on, we have a buff to loadouts. Finally, the number of loadouts you can have for your champs has been increased from 6 to 9. I love this change specifically because of my Paladins Coordinated Strat series. Oftentimes, I find myself having to delete older loadouts to make room for new ones. Now, I won't have to do that as often. Off topic, but I wanted to note, this seems to have fixed my loadout bug on Ceres. So, on the live version of the game, I can't make a 6 loadout for Ceres. The button isn't there. When I went on the PTS, I saw that I had a 9th loadout already present on Ceres, so I'm assuming that's what caused the bug. Really quick, I wanted to touch on one of the new LTMs coming this patch, Bazaar. This LTM allows you to play on Bazaar as an Onslaught map. As an Onslaught player, this piqued my interest. I tried it out on the PTS, and I wasn't feeling it. The actual point battle is fine, but getting there is a problem due to the choke points. It's also really easy to push a team back to spawn and hold them there. While I do want more Onslaught maps, and I appreciate them testing this out, I don't think Bazaar would be a good addition to the roster. What would be a good addition is the Dragon's Call map. Just saying. Now we arrive at the most significant changes this patch, the new and improved item store. Every category is receiving a 5th item, making the total number of items in the store 20. Okay, let's get started. Haven has been split into 2 new items. The first is Armor Plating, which costs 275 credits. This item reduces the damage you take from weapon shots by 8% scaling. The second item is Arcane Warding at a 250 credit cost. This item reduces the damage you take from abilities by 12% scaling. FYI, the damage reduction from Arcane Warding also affects ultimates. As many of you know, I was not a fan of the Haven Blast Shields merger, as I felt that it hurt blaster champs, and champs with differing damage types, like Amani. Despite the new armor plating items still hurting blasters, I much prefer it over what we have currently. Most champs deal a majority of their damage via their weapon, so Haven, armor plating, will still hinder that. However, champions who deal damage through abilities or a mix of weapon shots and abilities will see a significant damage increase. This mostly affects the damage class, but there are champs in other roles who will benefit as well. I say all of this because most likely, armor plating, like the current Haven, is going to continue to be a very popular item, meaning that most likely your weapons will be dealing reduced damage, while your abilities will retain full damage. I want to add that I appreciate the simplicity in these new items. It's much easier to understand what an in-hand and an ability are when compared to what's direct and blast damage. I remember being very confused with that when I started playing. For the new damage reduction items, I'm in favor. Just a little tidbit. Abilities that apply on-hit items are considered weapon attacks, so they will have their damage reduced by armor plating. Suck it, Leon. Like Haven, Resilience has been split into two items. The first is Sentinel at 225 credits. This item reduces the effects of slows, knockbacks, and knockups by 25% scaling. It also grants you a 150 HP scaling shield for 5 seconds upon earning an limb. The second item is Unbound at 200 credits. This item reduces the duration of all crowd controls except for slows, knockbacks, and knockups by 25% scaling. In my opinion, the descriptions on these items should be simplified. Instead of listing all the different CC, I think it would be easier to refer to it as soft and hard crowd control. But that's just a personal nitpick. I understand the need to give players as much info as possible to reduce confusion. As for these new items, the split of CC reduction will aid massively in teams with lots of differing crowd control. Previously, Resilience could neuter a good chunk of a team. For example, if you play with an ally running a CC talent like Power Cosmium Genos, the enemies would usually rush Resilience to counter that lethal CC. However, if you're on a character with soft CC like a slow, well, your slow is less effective now because of the enemy Resilience. If you'd been playing without a Power Cosmium Genos, the enemy would have been less likely to be indirectly countering you as well. Now with CC reduction being split, it will allow teams a little more flexibility in terms of viable CC. Now it might be worth it to coordinate teams with both hard and soft CC. Crowd control spam can be extremely frustrating to fight, so I do worry about this split enforcing crowd control heavy comps, which will lead to the purchase of 2 items instead of 1. However, hard CCs like stuns and cripples are the more frustrating ones, and those are reduced by a single item still. So, I believe Unbound will keep those in check. I just really don't want Paladins to become Overwatch 1, where you get chain stunned to death. I should also comment on the shield provided by Sentinel. I see some being upset by this, but I think the scaling is fair, and that shield is the highlight of the item for me. The new item for the utility slot is Hoard at 150 credits. This item grants you 10 credits every 15 seconds, minus 5 scaling. Additionally, it grants you a bonus 5 credits scaling on elimination. This is an item of much debate, and was seen quite often in my PTS matches. I appreciate the choice this item provides. It's cheap, and the passive credit gain lets you cap out your other items faster, at the cost of not having a vital 4th item late game. I see this item being very popular in Team Deathmatch, since those matches tend to be the shortest. I can also see this item being popular in characters who don't rely as heavily on the item store, like Io. I'm probably not going to be running Hoard, as I prefer having a 4th item in my matches. Still, I respect its inclusion in the store. The Yagoroth mains will be frothing at the mouth with this one. The new item for the healing slot is the return of the Old Veteran, now called Meditation. This item has been hitting the gym hard since its departure. At a 175 credit cost, Meditation heals you for an additional 2.5% of your max health every 0.25 seconds when out of combat. To simplify, at level 1 you heal 10% of your health every second. Capped out, you're healing 30% of your health per second. Once triggered, the out of combat healing will have you back to full in a little over 3 seconds. Keep in mind, you still have to wait the full 5 seconds for out of combat to start. When Veteran got reworked, there was a small but vocal part of the community that wanted it reverted to its old state. I personally thought the Old Veteran was garbage and was not in favor of reverting it. Now, we get the best of both worlds, only now, Meditation's effects will be very noticeable when compared to the Old Veteran. For comparison, The old Veteran healed 12% of your max HP when capped out, while Meditation heals for 30%. While not required if you have an attentive healer or good self-sustain, the new Meditation will be great for champs who already spend a lot of time out of combat, like Yagurath. While it might not be the most popular item, I am in favor of this addition. The new item for the offense section and the last new item here is Trigger Scent at 250 credits, originally 200 on the PTS. This increases the damage you deal by 5% scaling for 5 seconds after getting an elimination. Did we learn nothing from Luminary Genos? I mean, clearly we did because that's gone. Torvald Field Study got nerfed, and in this very patch, Tyra's Hunting Party is getting nerfed. The point I'm trying to make here is that damage boosting in Paladins is extremely powerful. There is a lot of burst damage in this game, and many champions are balanced around their DPS potential. Even a small bonus like 15% can radically change breakpoints in duels. Suddenly, that burst damage becomes much more potent. On the PTS, this item was extremely frustrating to fight. Because it's so strong, majority of the enemy team would buy this item. So if one enemy gets an assisted kill, you now have multiple damage boosted enemies snowballing their way towards you. This item becomes even more frustrating when comboed with the new Unbound Shield and Lethality speed boost. Damage boosting in Paladins has proven to be problematic in the past, so the addition of this item baffles me. I don't think it should go to live. This item would bring back the burst meta. Let's continue with changes to the existing items. Kill to Heal has been renamed to Bloodbath. Now eliminations heal you and the ally who got the killing blow by 300 scaling. However, that heal is now once again affected by Cauterize. This new functionality also comes with a price increase, with the new Bloodbath running at 325 credits. While controversial, I thought the current iteration of Kill to Heal landed at a comfortable spot. Having it ignore anti-healing made sense, because most oftentimes if you're in combat, you're under the effects of Cauterize, which made the old item pointless. This new Bloodbath reverting to that is a little confusing. It seems like it's trying to bolster the healing of the supports, while also providing benefits to teams with no or little healing. The new effect of healing an ally is neat, but I don't think that perk was worth the cost increase and overall healing reduction when taking Cauterize into account. I'd rather the team stick with the current version of Kill to Heal. Deft Hands, Master Riding, Nimble, and Wrecker have had their prices lowered by 25 credits, while Lethality had its price lowered by 50. I take no issue with these changes, and I think the price adjustments are fair. Guardian is getting its scaling increased from 10% to 15% per level. Originally on PTS it was 20%, which sucked to fight. Its price is also getting reduced from 300 to 250 credits, and the item now affects all shields. I hate Guardian with a passion, you guys know this. The only change I like here is the item now affecting all shields. Price decrease? Why? Scaling increased? Why, oh Genos, why? Do we want Aegis Nando in every match? Or do we want to deal with Half-Shell Makoa and his never-ending supply of shields? Listen, I'm not saying nerf shields. Overall, I love the shield design in this game. But bolstering shields through Guardian makes them frustrating to face, which in turn forces Wrecker to counter it, and I don't like that. I'd personally keep Guardian where it is. The only change I'd make is having it affect all shields. Overall, not in favor of this one. Life Rib is getting its scaling doubled, going from 10% to 20% a level. The price is also going up from 200 to 225 credits. Now when capped out, you will have 60% lifesteal. I think 60% is a bit steep, and will be kinda ridiculous with self-healing builds. I would have preferred to see the scaling at 15%. But this item is still neutered by Cauterize, so I don't think the big 60% lifesteal will be as scary in practice. But I'm still worried about this one. Because of that, I'm neutral about this change. Rejuvenate is getting a price increase going from 200 to 250 credits. Like I said last time, healing overall has gone up a ton in this game, so Rejuvenate is much stronger when compared to its pre-2020 days. I think a price nerf is fair. Next up we got Veteran. Bonus health per level is being increased from 5.5% to 7%, and the price is going down from 300 to 275 credits. I guess the team thought that reworking Haven would alleviate the Haven Veteran meta, but it doesn't. and buffing Veteran on top of that doesn't help either. Both armor plating and Veteran are cheaper now, meaning that getting both items capped will happen faster than before. I still like the idea of current Veteran boosting max HP, but I think its scaling should be decreased, not increased. So, not in favor of this one. Last change relating to items is the removal of Illuminate. To compensate, the base stealth detection range has been increased from 15 to 40 units. Now every champion has just shy of Illuminate 2 in their base kit. Originally, this detection range was 30 units on the PTS, which I thought was fair, and overall I do think this change is good. Illuminate was an incredibly niche item, with its sole existence dedicated towards countering Skye. All the other stealth characters typically use their stealth outside of close range, meaning that Illuminate wouldn't affect them. So realistically, this change only affects Skye, who is getting hammered even more with the 10 unit increase going off of PTS. I'm not a fan of extremely niche items, so I am in favor of Illuminate's removal. I do think 30 units would have been more fair. Oh yeah, the starting credits in all modes is going up from 400 to 500, allowing for more item diversity at the start of a match. Very much like that one. Overall, with the new item store, I appreciate that we have more choices to work with. I think some items could very well shake up the meta and make for more varied games. At the very least, some of these new items will make for some fun coordinated strats videos. Keep an eye out for those. Now that we've concluded the item store, let's talk about champion balance. First up is Caspian, who is getting gutted this patch. Ammo count on Love and War is going down from 21 to 20. Ammo cost on Love is going up from 1 to 2 per shot. Rogue's Tempo, stun is being removed, now it's replaced with a 40% slow for 1.5 seconds. Damage is also going down from 700 to 600. Stormblade's ultimate, damage per shot going down from 800 to 700, and the uptime of the ultimate's going down from 10 to 8 seconds. Measured Cadence talent is getting a damage decrease, going from 400 to 200, and the ammo cost is going up from 2 to 4. And finally, the It's Got Some Heft talent is losing the bonus range on the sword. That's 9 total nerfs at once, with 0 compensation changes. Ammo nerf and ult nerf don't change too much, and a nerf to Measured Cadence is warranted. But the Rogue's Tempo is going to be a trash tier ability next patch. I agree, the current iteration of the ability is strong, but I would have rather seen the damage lowered or the stun removed. Nerfing both of these aspects will just make Tempo a throwaway skill. Keep in mind, the projectile still has the wacky precedent of differing speeds based on your momentum stacks. The nerf to It's Got Some Heft has me the most riled. First off, who is complaining about this talent? It's not played very often. And second, the range bonus is the main reason to run this talent. It's the reason why it's called It's Got Some Heft. The bonus of the easier to hit sword is countered out by the slower attack speed. I think the talent is fine as is, I would not be touching it. I am aware that Caspian is a topic of much criticism in the community, but I feel the devs went the Kasumi route with this champ. I'm not in favor of all these changes. I think there were more delicate ways to bring down Caspian's power level. Speaking of Kasumi, she's up next. Curse no longer grants enemies a reveal on Kasumi. Good. That stat needed to go with her rework. Better late than never. Body and Soul now increases your jump height by 500%, but the damage reduction has been lowered from 75% to 60%. I wonder if someone on the team saw my Kasumi rework concept, because in it I had a loadout card that massively boosted jump height while Body and Soul is active. I love this idea, and think it fits perfectly for Kasumi's jump scare persona. The reduction in DR is fair, it's still very strong at 60%. Even with these buffs, I still don't think Body and Soul is a proper flank ability. I really believe they should buff the move speed bonus you receive in it. The Unfinished Business talent is losing its 1 second bonus duration to Body and Soul, while the Soul Siphon loadout card, which increases its duration, is having the scaling upped from 0.1 to 0.3 seconds. The buff to the loadout card was necessary, but I'm a bit confused by the nerf to Unfinished Business. The commentary states that it was making Kasumi too powerful, but I didn't really see it. Overall though, I'm in favor of these Kasumi changes. Khan is up next with changes to his ultimate. The hitbox has been adjusted from a beam to a small cylinder, meaning the ult will be easier to hit. Additionally, the ult's range has been lowered from 180 to 170 units to match his weapon. This means that when your reticle changes colors, you will be in ulting range. I don't know why Khan keeps getting buffed, but you do you, Evil Mojo. At least it's a fairly small change. Koga is up next with buffs. Dragon Stance now grants you 25% bonus move speed while it's active. To complement this, the Hellkite Claws now pierce enemies. Previously, I would avoid using Dragon Stance, since DPS-wise, the Claws and the SMGs are very close. Now with the bonus move speed and piercing projectiles, I'm inclined to switch to Claws more often. Overall, these changes make Dragon Stance more fun and lethal. To accompany the buff Dragon Stance, the Adrenaline Junkie talent is seeing a slight revert, with the damage needed to generate 1 energy going down from 160 to 120, a fair middle ground that should bring the talent back. Next up is Leon with buffs. Base HP is going up from 2000 to 2150, which is fair. I didn't even know Leon had 2000, that's insanely low. Having more HP will open up some more loadout flexibility, which is always nice for a champ to have. But that's not it for the auto-aim woman. The heirloom rifle is getting buffs too. The damage per shot is going up from 400 to 450, and the effective range is going up from 90 to 125 units. Even though I hate her, I think these changes are fair. The base health especially, I'm still baffled by the fact that Leon had 2000. The damage increase on the rifle will affect breakpoints on 2200 HP champs. Now Leon can kill them with 5 shots instead of 6. Look out for that. Omen is up next with adjustments to the more card. Now, instead of a scaling damage boost and ammo adjustment, the card now grants you a flat 20% damage boost, while cutting your ammo by 10, minus 1 scaling. This card already lost its main use with the rework to the Umbral Lance talent last patch. I don't think this rework will really change much. The devs keep mentioning the double barrel shotgun playstyle when that was, and still is, the least optimal way to run this card. I think the idea of a double barrel shotgun is cool, but I'd rather see that as a talent with a secondary effect like extra HP or reload speed. As it is right now, more will be about the same. Next up is Rom, who would have ate really good this patch. Originally, his soul armor passive was going to ignore anti-healing, which technically would have been a bug fix, as this is how the ability was advertised as functioning when Rom released. This change would have made Rom a lot more durable, and dare I say, main tank material against certain comps. Unfortunately, the devs chickened out of that change, saying that they wanted more time to test the fix for it. Instead, Rom is getting a cooldown buff to Soul Harvest, with the cooldown going from 12 to 10 seconds. A buff is a buff, but this is nothing compared to what could have been. I really hope they circle back to that soul armor buff. That would have been impactful to Rom. Not this. Once again, 7 is in the patch notes. Heavy SMG, burst and auto damage going up, auto range decreased, mag dump range increased. They've messed with the numbers on the SMG so much through so many patches, I just don't even care anymore. Partial revert to the Knight card. Cooldown reductions on dodge is being increased from 0.25 seconds scaling to 0.4 seconds scaling. Still probably be a very common card, since cooldown reductions are vital for 7, and a good chunk of his cards aren't up to speed. Spring Loaded talent is losing the cooldown buff on explosive dodge, but the bonus explosion range is going up by 5%. This change will probably kill the talent, since the hypermobility it provided was its main strength. The placement of double mines should be the highlight of this talent, but I don't see this talent being played much next patch. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think this talent shouldn't have been changed. Mainly because Overcharged is getting mega buffed this patch. Overcharged is the talent that lets Grappling Hook pull in enemies. Now, the damage penalty is gone, the cooldown reduction is gone, and the charge penalty is gone. To simplify all of this, Release 7 is back. Get ready. Oh boy. Listen, I know I said that I missed the pulling aspect of Release 7, and wanted buffs for Overcharged, but not like this. I would have preferred to keep the one charge of Hook, but lower the cooldown to a more manageable 10 seconds. With this iteration, 7 can hook you, do his thing, and then fly off. Or he could double hook you if you don't fall to the first one. Obviously, this will be less lethal than Release, since you don't have the double mines of Spring Loaded, but it will still be very frustrating regardless. Sentinel is looking really good against 7 next patch. The devs state that these talent changes are to create more talent diversity amongst 7 matches. But I can tell you right now that Overcharged is going to be the meta talent. Tribunal upgrades doesn't bring enough, and like I said, Spring Loaded lost its main use. Next up is Skye, who is once again being abused. Damage on the wrist crossbow is going down from 130 to 115 a shot. bringing Sky's DPS down from 1,300 to 1,150, which is significant in regards to time to kill. This change is extremely confusing, as Sky already got massively nerfed with every champion now having Illuminate in their base kit. I guess the balance team really hates Sky. I don't know why. I'm just glad I stopped playing her many patches ago. Next up, my man Terminus has a buff to the Calamity Blasts. Now, dealing damage with a Calamity Blast increases the recharge rate of Power Siphon by 25% for 4 seconds. This buff stacks up to 5 times. This change sounds like it should alleviate rigid Siphon reset builds, right? Well, it doesn't, and I'll tell you why. Typically when you're playing Term and utilizing your Calamity Blasts, you will fire out the burst of blasts and then Siphon immediately to avoid damage. Well, this new passive affecting recharge rate is pointless here, because when Siphon is active, it doesn't recharge, it depletes. And this new passive only affects recharge rate, not depletion rate. So to get full use out of this passive, you have to intentionally not use your Siphon for 4 seconds to take advantage of the recharge bonus. Obviously with Siphon being Term's best ability, that won't happen often. So in reality, this passive won't get optimal use often. Of course, it's a nice quality of life buff, but that's all it is. Also for my train players, this change does nothing. Power Siphon has been a balance issue in the past. Rather than buffing it, I'd like to see an increase to Term's weapon range and move speed. Changes along the line of making him more brawly. I think that's where the character is most fun, and they should lean into that for future balance. Next up is Tyra with a nerf to Hunting Party. Now the talent no longer provides you an extra charge of Hunter's Mark. It was only a matter of time before this talent got nerfed. Like I said with Trigger Scent, damage boosting is strong. Hunting Party is still going to be strong because of the 15% damage boost, but now you can only apply it to one player at a time, which is more fair. I personally think the duration of the mark should have been addressed instead, as having the damage boost active for up to 8 seconds with cards is a bit much. Next up is Vora with a rework to the Deadly Scythe. To simplify all of this, instead of a majority of her damage being through the bleed, most of it will be through the burst. Overall, the damage on the combo is going down a bit, but the combo will have more damage up front, and will be coming out a smidge faster thanks to a decrease in a post-fire delay after the first hit. I don't really like this change. I think the prevalence of bleed damage is core to Vora's identity. What she lacked in burst damage, she made up for in self-sustain. This change isn't too massive and will aid in matchups against squishies, but I don't like it too much. Next up is Willow with buffs to the Blast Flower talent. The bonus damage per shot has been upped from 80 to 100, and the number of stacks has been upped from 3 to 4. Now this will give the talent some real kick once Willow gets ramped up. Personally, I would have rather seen a damage increase to Willow's base weapon. Without Blast Flower, Willow deals pathetic damage. Kicking the talent makes Willow playable. And while the buff is nice, it unfortunately will bolster the lack of talent variety for Willow. Last up, we have Ying with a new functionality to her ultimate. The true healing is being removed, but now, Illusory Rift will remove all debuffs from allies upon activation, and grant 1 second of CC immunity to them as well. This makes the ultimate the queen of countering CC. I actually think this version of the ult is leagues better than the true healing version. Ying can now counter heavy CC ults from the enemies, like Inara's Seismic Crash and Pip's Evil Mojo. I'm actually wondering if this ult is going to be too good at doing that, due to how often you could have the ult active. I'm surprised they didn't nerf the ult charge rate. If there's one thing the current balance team is doing right, it's adjusting Ying. Within the last 2 patches, she went from the worst support to now one of the best with her new ult. And that's it for the Wild Horde. Overall, I'm very excited. Mainly for the new item store. I can't wait to see how that shakes up the game. What do you all think of the update? Let me know down below. Don't forget to clap that like button and laser down that sub button. Snatching the bell is also a great way to stay in the loop. As always, I'm YellowNinja, and peace.